Hey guys, welcome to Ring Still TV. Today is episode 12 in our $500 1,000 yard steel elk challenge. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome back to the bench. So we are ready to start doing our loads today for our Satterlee load development. I have 10 pieces of brass over here all ready to go. These are all exactly the same. They have been neck turned, primer pocket has been sorted, the flash hole has been uniformed. They have been sized 2 thousandths off the shoulder, and also the base has been resized so that it fits inside our collet. So yeah, these are all perfect and ready to go. Also our bullets that we selected, if you remember the AccuBond long range, these are all 0.802 in length, and then I also weighed them. These are 190.2. I've got 10 of these here ready to go, so these are identical. We're going to use the CCI large rifle Magnum primers here, the 250s, and then the Hodgdon H1000 powder is what we're going after. So we're going to walk through the Satterlee load development, but before we do any of that, what we need to do is we need to take a couple measurements of the chamber and see what kind of length we need to be at for our bullet seating depth. So let me grab the gun and our two little tools that we'll use to take care of this. I'll be right back. Guys, so just wanted to walk through the process of measuring the overall length of our cartridge from to the lands inside the deal. So this will be the throat depth inside the chamber itself. What I use, guys, is simple. Get a brass case. This is one that's been fired in the 300 Win Mag. It doesn't even necessarily need to be fired. You just need a case. You're going to cut a little slit in there with your Dremel like that. That's going to allow the bullet to slide in and out of the neck there, and I'm going to show you how we use this tool to come up with the measurement and just how accurate and repeatable this process is. So let me get my my gun and we'll take some measurements. Okay guys, we're back here and we've got our 300 Win Mag and we've got our modified case here with a slit in it and a bullet, and I'm going to show you guys how to measure the throat distance with this super simple tool. On top of it, this is very accurate, and I'll show you that now. So what you want to do is slide this cartridge onto the bolt face and get it underneath the extractor. What we're looking for here is to make sure that the bullet tip will enter the chamber. It looks like I've got a little bit more room. I kind of want it at the max distance I can go, so that bullet is just barely reaching in there. Just to show you that we have made a change to it, we're going to just take a quick measurement of this, and currently this is at 2.956. I'm going to get it under the extractor ring here. I'm going to push the cartridge down in there, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to slide this forward. What I don't want this to do is to have the bullet catch on the chamber anywhere and push the bullet back. So this is going in, and I can see it's gone all the way in. Now it's touching the lands. I'm going to push forward on the bolt and lock it. Now we're going to slowly extract this cartridge out of the deal, at the same time holding it down so it doesn't come flying out. There we go. And now we're just going to take a quick measurement here of this bullet and see kind of where it's at. Okay, we have made a change to the bullet. That is at 2.907. I'm going to pull the bullet out again. We're going to put it back into the extractor groove. We're going to push this forward. We're going to push the bolt all the way forward and lock it, and then we'll remove it again. I like to do this 3 times, see if all my measurements add up. Again, 2.907 on the dot. We'll pull this out just a little bit so it can move again. Back into the extractor ring. We're going to push this forward. It's in the chamber now. I'm going to lock it down, pull it back out. And we're going to measure this again and that is 2.907 on the dot again. So we got 3 measurements of 2.907 on this bullet. So that is the distance from the base to the ogive touching the lands. That is our maximum length, and I would call that jammed into the lands. So normally what we would do is we would just take this bullet and I would just seat this back 2 thousandths, and that would be my starting point for bullet seating depth. However, our problem is this bullet will not fit into this magazine now because that length is too long. You can see here the bullet's just extending way past the deal, and there's no way this is gonna load in there. So what we need to do now is we need to find the max overall length for this magazine. And that's what we're going to have to start our loads at, is at that distance. So what I'm going to do is I've got my press set up over here, and I'm just going to slowly start seating this bullet until it fits in here. Okay, I've set the bullet back a little bit. Let's take a look at it and see if it fits. Almost there, not quite. It's hitting the tip there just a little bit. So I'm going to set it down another 2 or 3 thousandths. I'm going to see if that fits. And that just barely clears there. Just barely. It will go in, but it is right on it. Let's take a measurement and see where that's at. Okay, that's 2.807. 2.807. That's exactly 10 thousandths off the lands. And if you'll remember, this bullet, when I did some research on it, flew really well between 10 thousandths and 15 thousandths off the lands. So we've got just a little bit of room here, but it's awfully tight. Guys, it's you know, I don't know, on a hot day, it might actually be touching it just, well, it's moving in there okay. I think I would do another 2 thousandths back to be on the safe side. Actually, you know what, let's start there. So we're gonna start this at the seating depth of 2.807. 2.807, that's exactly 10 thousandths off the lands. We're going to start there and start our load development with that. It's something that will fit inside the magazine for now, and we'll move it back slightly as we're doing our adjustments. So basically we've got our seating depth now at 2.807, and that's where we'll start with our seating depth. So let's move on with the getting the Satterlee load set up. All right, guys, you're looking at my screen now. What I've got here is just an Excel spreadsheet I put together. And you're going to see all my notes here for the 300 Win Mag, the Nosler 190 AccuBond Long Range, the powder we've selected, the primer that I've selected, those measurements that we did for the lands and the seating depth, our head space on the shoulder, which is 2.28, which is 2 thousandths off the shoulder. And then the neck wall thickness from turning, which is 0.0135. Our bullet tension is 0.002. And then our overall cartridge length is 3.48. Our case length is 2.61. And then the maximum charge weight, which I actually got from the Nosler website. The gun that they used for their development is nearly identical. Same length barrel, same twist, all that good stuff. So this is the charge weight that I'm going to start with is 79. So this brings up Satterlee load development. These are all just notes here. On Satterlee, what we want to do is we want to start with our max charge weight. You can see here 79.0, and I'm going to back it off 0.2 of a grain all the way back through 10 rounds. So from 79.0 to 79.8, 78.6, 78.4, 78.2, all the way down to the very first round, which will be 77.2. Now what we would expect is you're increasing in charge weight, that it would be very linear. Like you would see this increasing in velocity at a very linear rate, very much like this chart looks here. These are all fake velocities, guys. I have not run this test yet. We're going to do this together. I just put some in here to kind of show what linear rate should look like. But like I said, the reality is this isn't what happens. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my 6mm Creedmoor. This is the chart that I got out of my 6mm Creedmoor. Same deal. As we increased in charge weights, you can see what's happened. It's kind of going up, and then it just kind of plateaus right here where it's not really getting faster. And then we get a big spike, and then it starts to look like it's going to plateau again here at the top. And this is what we're looking for. We're looking for these plateaus, kind of where the bullet kind of stabilizes and it doesn't get any faster. And the reason for this is that if we find a plateau, let's say this middle one here, which is number 7, we should get our very best standard deviations and extreme spreads right in the middle of this plateau. The bullet in front of it, 0.2 of a grain lower, was not very much slower than that one, and then the one 0.2 of a grain higher was actually a little bit lower. So this means that the gun is shooting pretty stable within this wide spread of bullet charge weights. And the reason why this is important is as you're loading your powder, if you're a grain off, or when I say a grain, an actual grain of powder, not one grain of charge weight, but one simple grain of powder, if it's off 1 or 2 of those, you don't want that to affect your extreme spread or your velocity. So this is why we're looking for these plateaus here. Now, what's interesting is that when you find the plateau and you find the middle one, what we also know is that a gun generally shoots its best right there. And that's the real trick here. Why does it do that? Why are there plateaus? Why isn't it very linear from beginning to end? Physics would tell us if you increase the charge weights in here and add more energy to it, it should theoretically continue to go faster and faster and faster. Somebody might look at this and go, well, it was something in your reloading that caused it to do this, but that's not the case. So what I want to talk about is why I think this is happening. I've looked all over the web. Nobody can tell me why there's plateaus on a gun. However, those of us that have been reloading any length of time know that this happens. I mean, this has happened to me over the years. I didn't really understand why it's happening. I still don't fully understand why it's happening. I can't find really any good information online that tells me why it's happening. So I'm just going to rant here. I mean, these are the rantings of an old man that likes to play with bullets and powder charges, and I'm going to tell you what I think is going on. So what we know is that when a bullet is shot through a barrel, the barrel vibrates like a tuning fork. It bends and it wobbles like a wet noodle. Just, you know, it's got 60,000 psi of pressure inside the barrel. The thinner the barrel, the more the harmonics you're going to get, and that barrel is bending like a tuning fork, just like this. Okay, and I've got my cleaning rod here, my Dewey cleaning rod, and you can kind of see it here. You know, as it's hit, you can see it's just kind of wobbling back and forth, just like if the gun was fired. And this is what you would expect to see. Now, this goes back to why I think we're getting plateaus, and I don't know if this is true or not, but these are my thought. What I think is happening is that as the barrel bends and the bullet's traveling down it, that bullet is 1 inch long, whatever it is, it's actually creating more stress inside the barrel as it's having to make this arc around here. As that bullet's traveling the barrel and it's making its arc in the tuning fork, it's creating more, let's call it kinks or whatnot. Very similar to like a water hose, you know, if you kind of kinked it, or if you pushed it or something and created a little space where the water's got to travel through there and push through it, it's going to shoot out of the end faster. Well, that's what I think is happening. When the barrel's bent, the velocity's building up and it's shooting faster. But as the barrel gets closer to center and the barrel's very level, and we adjust the straightness of the barrel through our powder charge weight, when that barrel's perfectly straight and it releases from the end of the barrel, that's when we're going to get our very best groups. This is something we know and bench rest shooters have known for a long time. And by changing the powder weights, that's how we get the barrel to be straight. It's still flopping around, it's still bending, it's doing that, but it's releasing the bullet at the moment that the barrel is completely straight. So what I think is happening is that as it approaches that straightness, the bullet doesn't have that tension or the kinks or anything like that inside the barrel, and the velocity is stabilizing because the barrel's in its straight position. And so you might be 2/10 of a grain, might be just slightly bent, and then you'll get into very straight, and then just a little past that, maybe it'll bend a little bit more. But that entire moment, those split seconds while that bullet's traveling through there at those charge weights, that might be about half grain difference, the bullet's very close, or the barrel's very close to straight, and that's why we're getting the plateaus. On the other sides of those, it's starting to jump up because the barrel's bent in various different positions, and it's creating some kinks and more velocity inside the barrel. Guys, this is just a theory. I don't know if it's true or not. I have no way to scientifically tell you if that's actually what's happening. But what I can tell you is that when we do find these plateaus, the barrel shoots the best. So with Satterlee, I'm going to load up 10 rounds. I'm going to go 0.2 grains increments all the way down as I load those up. I'm going to find a plateau, and I'm going to load 5 up, and I'm going to go shoot groups and see how well it's shooting. Now, one thing that I've done is I actually went back and looked at some of my old data from when I did OCW load development, and here's a good example here of my 223. This was running my 77 tip match kings with 8208 and the CCI 450 primers. I just took my OCW information, and I put all the velocity averages in here and basically ran this. And guess what I found out? At 23.2 grains of 8208, I was running at 2723. And this was my very best groups using OCW. When I plug all that information in here, guess what I find? I find another plateau right here. And I find my very best standard deviations and extreme spreads right there. So that gives me good confidence that this might be a good way to do this. And over the last 2 years, I've done this on a few guns for different people, and I've come to the same conclusions that if we can get into a plateau and find the middle charge weight that is performing in the plateau, we're going to find good groups there. So it's just about testing, testing, testing. Also keep in mind, guys, this is only 10, 11 rounds here on this particular one. So this is why it was so important that we get our components as perfect as possible, because I do not want to introduce any reloading errors into this chart. I want this chart to be as perfect as possible, meaning all the components are exactly perfect. Everything that's going down the barrel is exactly the same. The barrel's broke in and we're not, it's already stabilized as far as its speed. And that way I'm going to get the best data I possibly can from Satterlee and have a good level of confidence that this is performing there. Now what will happen is I'll load my 5, I'll go shoot it, and I should see low standard deviations, low extreme spreads, and those numbers are what's most important downrange as far as we go, and we'll talk more about that later on as we start shooting downrange. So now that we've had a good discussion about what the Satterlee load test is and how it kind of works, I'm going to go ahead and get these components out here. We'll get them loaded up. We'll go do some shooting and record the velocities, and we'll come back and talk about that. Okay, guys, so what I've got back here are some cases. These are 12 that were all volume sorted and we're all exactly the same. I only need 10 rounds for this deal, so what I want to do is take the best 12 cases out of this deal. And so what I normally do is, this is my Sinclair concentricity gauge. It tells me how well centered these cases are. These are all already processed, so what I'll do is I'll stick this in here and then I'll just rotate it and see just how much it's out. So you can see this one's about almost a thousandths. I'll take another one. It's about 2 thousandths. And anything that's 2 thousandths or lower, I'm pretty happy with. I don't go chasing after this too hard. There's another 2 thousandths one. But you'll see here, I've already kind of sorted these. Here's one here. This one is almost 4 thousandths out. So all I'm doing is I'm looking for the very best ones that I've got. That one there is almost 4 thousandths out. So all I'm doing is taking these and finding the best 10. And out of these, I'll find 10 that are 2 thousandths or less. This one's not even a thousandths out around. So that's the process that I kind of use to figure out which ones I'm going to use. I'll do this both for the these 10 round developments, and I really pay close attention to these when we get into our 5-shot groups. and get the very best ones. It's important that the bullet is very concentric, that the shell case is concentric, and the bullet seats in there concentrically. What you don't want to do is have that bullet come out and enter the lands crooked. So the more you can do to ensure that everything's concentric and centered around a centered axis, the better off you're going to be, especially on this gun, because we're going to be jumping like 0.10 to 0.15 is my estimation. So it's got a long jump into the lands, and the more time that that bullet spins crooked, the greater the chances are that it's going to enter the lands crooked. That means the bullet will wobble as it goes down the barrel, and it'll exit the muzzle of the rifle wobbling a little bit, and then it'll have to stabilize, and then it'll get into the target. So all we're trying to do is just ensure these are as straight as possible. So anyway, I've got 10 sorted out, and we'll go ahead and start loading these up. So the first thing that I want to do before I even get started is I'm just going to go ahead and calibrate this, and just start with this thing fully calibrated. And I've done this wrong. We'll cal 0, then we got to hold it. It says cal 50. I'm going to drop the 50 on there, 50 grams. I'll hit it again. It'll go to 0. I'll pull this off. It should read 771.6. That way I know I got a pretty good calibration. You can see 771.6. I'll hit 0 again on that. I know from experience this pan weighs 116.0, so I should see that here when I put it on, 116.0. I'll cal 0 this, and now we're taired, we're ready to go. And this is the way that I know that this thing's in. As long as those numbers all match up, I'm good to go. So the first charge weight that we had was 77.2. We'll go ahead and punch that in. I'll go ahead and drop that. And just like we did before, I'm going to attempt to get this as close to a single grain of powder as I can. These 300 Win Mags take a lot of powder. I'm so used to 42, 45, 47 on some of the smaller cartridges. So you can see this one's a little light here, 77.1. It's within the spec on the Lyman. I'm going to just shake this and get it flat, because it does read just a little bit different if you do that. And now we'll just start adding some grains in here. I'm going to add 1 grain and see where we end up. 77.1. I'm going to add 2 grains here, or 2 kernels. 77.2. I'm going to pull 1 back out and see if it flutters. See, it fluttered there just a little bit. Pull that back, put it back on. It's fluttering. 77.1, 77.2. It landed on 77.2. I know now that I'm within 1 grain, or 1 actual kernel. So this is ready to go. I'm going to drop this into this bullet here. Okay. And normally I would load all these up with powder and then go back and do them, but because I'm doing different charge weights in each one of these, I want to go ahead and set the bullet in here. So I'm going to go ahead and set the bullet and check the overall length and see how we're doing there. All right, guys, you can see here we are at, let's see, 2.818. I need to come down a little bit more. I'm just going to bring it down 5 thousandths, and we're going to ease into it just a little bit. Make sure we hit it right on the button. 14. Go another 5 thousandths. Okay, that's good. We're right on the money, 2807. So that's the first round. Then what I'll do is I'll just write on here what the charge weight was on this one. This was a 77.2. Okay, that's our first one. We'll do the same process on the rest of these here. Okay guys, there we are. We've got 10 rounds here ready to go. All of them are absolutely perfect. If there's a better way to make a bullet, I'm not sure how to do it. They're all exactly on the money for every dimension on the case, exactly on the money for the bullet seating depth, and all the powder that's inside of these bullets are going to be to the kernel. So that's all we need to do here at the bench for the first 10 on Satterlee. The next place you're going to see me is on the range, and we'll shoot these and we'll graph it out, and I'll show you what we're looking for so that we can get to the load that we want. I'll see you at the range. I'll be right back. Hey guys, welcome back to Ringtail Still TV. We're on the range right now. It is a beautiful day. It's absolutely gorgeous. So we're going to shoot these 10 rounds. I'm starting with 77.2, and we're going to record our velocities now. 29.06 right off the bat. 29.21. 29.13. 29.32. 29.35. 29.52. 29.60. It's 29.73. It was 29.85. Okay, let's go plot this out real quick, bring up a graph, and I think we'll be done with this episode. I'll see you guys back at the bench. All right, guys, we are back here at the bench. I just want to take a minute, take a look at these rounds here we shot. These are the 10 that we shot. We'll take the first one and the last one, 77.2 and the 79 grains. If we get a good look at them here, they're nearly identical. There's slight flattening and slight cratering. Nothing I'm concerned about here. None of the primers have popped up at all. That all looks good. The other thing that's really great here, if you look at this, the neck is sealing very good inside the chamber. There's almost no dirt on this case outside of just that section there on the neck. So I'm feeling good about that. I took some measurements on these, and what I have is this will be 2.278, which is what I had before from the first time that I ran these. I'm bumping these back to 2.276, so that's 2 thousandths at the shoulder. Everything looks really good with that. On the screen here, what I'm showing you guys is the Satterlee chart that we put together for this. You can see all our charge weights here and all our velocities, and these are all filled in. If you look at the chart, you can see we've got a little plateau right here. We've got something kind of starting in here, and then here at the end, we've got a little plateau. So what I wanted to show you guys on my chart is, you'll see here I got this 3GSD. What this is a 3-group standard deviation. So what it's doing is it's taking these 3 velocities and it's creating a standard deviation and an extreme spread. Those numbers help me when the velocities are kind of slow to pull up. So you can see here we've only got like 79 feet per second difference from 77.2 to 79. So this allows me to see which might be the best. This Excel spreadsheet is telling me right here that charge weight 78.8 at a average velocity of 2982, which actually that was 2982 on that one, is our best group. So we'll definitely want to go after the 78.8. That'll get us to 2982 as far as velocity, and my calculator tells me that this gun should be good out to right at 1200 yards at my elevation. So That'll keep us above the speed of sound and more than adequate on the bullet expansion. Let me see. So the other one we might want to try is this round number 2 at 77.4. It had a standard deviation of 8 and extreme spread is 15. These numbers are phenomenal, guys. I mean, if this is the numbers that I'm getting between 4/10 of a grain difference, then that tells me that we should see some really good stability in these bullets and velocities downrange. I mean, a lot of times these are going to be easily into the double digits. These extreme spreads could be as much as 20 or 30 feet per second, and the standard deviations would be, 15, 20, 25 a lot of times when I do this. So to see all these really low numbers tells me that that we should have pretty good luck finding a good round. So anyway, that's what we're going to go after. That's what the Satterlee load test looks like. This is the charting from that gun. In our next video, we're going to load up these rounds. I'm going to go ahead and just have them preloaded, and we'll go out there and shoot some 5-shot groups and take a look and see where we want to zone in on. So in our next video, you should see 77.8 with 5 rounds and 77.4 for 5 rounds, and we'll just get a good look at it and see which one's performing the best. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave those below. Until next time, happy shooting.